RWBY, Volume 4, Episode 12, No Safe Haven. What happens? The episode begins with the fight between Ranger and the Nuckelavee already in progress. Jean, with some help from Ren, gets Crow to safety. The kids fight the beast, but even though Jean's sword got an upgrade, things start to look grim. Both Nora and Ren's aura breaks, and Nora gets the two under a house for protection. Ren and Nora agree that they won't let each other die, and rejoin the fray. Now that the kids have decided to try harder, they swiftly and easily kill the Nuckelavee. RWBY makes sure Crow's still alive, and some airships conveniently find the kids. Ren and Nora continue to break my heart, and the gang finds themselves safe in a... hotel? RWBY forgets she's left-handed and writes a letter to Yang recapping how everyone else feels and her motivations. For 7 minutes. This episode is 19 minutes long without intro or credits. It ends with Watts teasing us for Lionheart and evil schemes to come in the next volume, and after the credits, we see Oscar finding Crow in a bar asking for his cane back. What a weird choice to have the episodes start in the middle of the fight. For being an action anime, it's kinda surprising how often the viewers aren't actually privy to the combat the characters face. It's not a bad way to open the episode, it just feels a bit like we had to miss some of the fun action stuff. The Nuckelavee's movement is so gross and cool. This is definitely the most interesting design for a Grimm yet, even though it's not as scary as I thought it would be. William Orendorff's performance of the Nuckelavee is out of this world. Teach me your vocal secrets. This whole bit with Ren helping Jean hide is weirdly slow, especially this awkward turn in close-up Ren has. Like, why aren't RWBY and Nora doing something to help? Also, how far is Ren's range on this? It feels like they wanted to establish that Ren can do this at a distance, and so stuck in here real quick without actually explaining much about it. I don't get this interaction between Crow and Jean. Like, I assume Crow's supposed to be giving him a "don't let my favorite niece die" look, but it more just looks vaguely grumpy. Jean, why would you just stand there? I don't even stand that close to normal horses' back hooves, let alone one that's also a Satan monster. You were even the one that said, keep moving. What are you doing? Did Jean not tell his friends about his sword upgrade? Why? However, it's real nifty to see Jean's weapon develop. It may not have a gun on it still, but this does mean Jean's growing as a fighter, to be able to alternate between a defense-based fighting style and an offense-based one. This bit with the Nuckelavee getting a mid-battle upgrade was cool, but resulted in no visible difference when it came to combat. On a rewatch, it feels like an unnecessary way to make the fight appear harder without actually changing anything. It feels like Ren's bullets have never ever done any damage to anything. It's a big flash and heavy noise, but there never seems to be an impact. What's the point of outfitting a character with guns that don't work? This maneuver RWBY and Nora do is really cool, but every time Nora is shot at the Nuckelavee, it's distracted it from whatever else it was attacking. Why didn't Nora just shoot in here too? So this is a cute interaction, but I feel like it shouldn't have been here. If your characters have time to flirt or make jokes, it makes the enemy feel like less of a threat. This is the same monster who killed Ren's parents and is the final fight for the volume. Having this moment really makes it feel like it's not a big deal though.
Oh no, this thing ruined your life and could easily kill us, but tee-hee-hee, don't look up Nora's skirt!
If you want the audience to take the fight seriously, then the characters should too. Also, where are RWBY and Jean during all of this? Once again, the enemy is just standing around waiting for the kids to be ready to fight again, and RWBY and Jean takes this opportunity to do nothing? You can't even say they had to take that time to run up to the Nuckelavee. RWBY's got super speed! People complained that the fights got worse once Monty died. I disagree. They are different, but that doesn't make them bad. However, if the RWBY crew wanted to improve their combat, then they would learn to take a page from Monty's book. The biggest problem with the fights now is how often the combat stops for no reason. The animators take time away from the combat, so characters can take a moment to stand around and look cool. This is why people say the fights feel slower. Monty made sure no energy was wasted during a fight. It's why RWBY uses the momentum of Crescent Rose's recoil to attack. At least, in theory, she's supposed to do that, but the animators seem to have forgotten that her scythe is supposed to be heavy. If you look at fights Monty animated, you'll see that there are cool shots of characters looking cool, but they're still fighting during those shots too. For RT to step up their action game, they'll learn to let a fight happen without stopping the action so frequently without cause. Why does Jean tell Ren to knock it off? What does he want, for Ren to run away from the fight? Why should Ren knock it off when all he's doing is attacking the Nuckelavee? I think it's supposed to be a, Ren, stop just running in all willy-nilly, you're just getting hurt. But maybe he'd do better if fucking anyone else decided to help him. Where the fuck is RWBY? Why isn't she fighting? Even here, Jean gets to be the big cool hero again. I get it and think it's nice that it's Jean protecting his team, but I can't help but think, where has our title character gone? Wow, that slap helped Ren pull himself together, and didn't seem to hurt that much. It's almost like Nora's actually a likable character. Seeing baby Nora turn into present Nora, showing us and Ren how much she's grown since then, is brilliant and super well done. 10 out of 10 on such an impactful scene to round off Ren's arc. Okay, so I guess aura breaking is just bullshit and doesn't mean anything because once again, they just start fighting again. Just don't have their aura break if they're going to just continue fighting without any physical difference or hindrances. How fucking hard is it to stay consistent while writing your own damn show? Honestly, the fight from this point on is pretty lackluster. Like, it's still fun to watch and I wouldn't say it's animated poorly, but it feels rushed and all tension seems to be gone as the kids believed in the heart of the cards and are now unstoppable. The climax of the volume definitely feels like it was Ren and Nora's talk under the house, not this fight. While I appreciate the character-driven conclusion, I lament the underwhelming fight that followed it. Oh, these kids need to discuss how they're going to beat me. I better just stand around until they finish their conversation. Stop doing this. At least have the kids hide if you want them to talk. The kids literally have no trouble during this part of the fight, even though they're continuing their don't work together, just run at it one at a time strategy. Where before they couldn't land a blow without quickly getting sucker punched, magically the Nuckelavee seems content to just stand there and not fight back. Come on guys, the first fight of the volume was better than this, and that one kept getting interrupted with slapstick. I am so disappointed that Nora didn't get struck by lightning. They've been in this constant gloomy weather for half the volume. She climbed up high, why wouldn't you strike her with lightning? What a fun way to incapacitate the Nuckelavee, with a super-powered thunder hammer blow! But I guess all this time, Nora just had to hit it harder. What a wasted opportunity. So, hundreds of people died trying to kill this thing, and Ren still has time to slowly cut it up before beating it? Are Team Ranger gods of combat because they've been graced with so much color and overly designed outfits? Or is the rest of the world just really wimpy? Maybe if anyone else who fought this thing had a gun, they'd have done better. Seriously, look at all the weapons left behind in its cave. They're all just swords. The most popular quote from the show is, "It's also a gun. How hard is it to slap a shotgun barrel on those and call it a day?" Weapon design may be where the loss of Monty could be felt the most. Monty designed everything with a gun for a reason, but without him we tend to either get just a weapon without a gun, or a weapon that can transform into just a gun. A part of me wants to complain about how the airships show up conveniently right after they kill the Nuckelavee, but I mean, whatever. We already got the climactic conclusion to Ren's arc, no need to drag Crow's poor health out any longer than it needed to be. So, this is shot as if we're supposed to be on the edge of our seat about whether or not Crow's gonna die, but it's immediately answered.
I hope we make it in time. Oh look, we made it.
Like, what's the point of having Ruby worry when they immediately make it to safety after that? Why does Ruby's face look so weird in this episode? I mean, I guess Ruby was probably the first one they modeled and rendered, so of course they'll learn how to be better with every face they make after her. How did I not notice before this episode, though? Oh yeah, maybe because Ruby didn't do anything all volume! I love that the music stops for a second when Ren catches Nora off guard. Oh, how fucking hard is it to remember the handedness of your protagonist? Miles and Carrie have gone on in commentaries about useless shit like, what's everyone's favorite beverage? But they can't be bothered to remember something like Ruby's left-handed. Ruby's letter is so boring. Every time I get to this part of the volume, I kinda just black out. It's so trite and unnecessary. If I wanted to listen to a character write a letter explaining everything that's happened to them recently, then I'd go watch fucking My Little Pony. Not to mention how undeserved it is. Ruby's done nothing to contribute to the plot or any of the 5 character arcs this volume. She only gets this big, dumb, long, boring letter scene because she's the star, but she definitely doesn't deserve it. If they wanted a letter writing scene, I think Oscar would have been a better choice. A letter to his aunt would round off his arc nicely, and would give us a bit more screen time to get to know him. Not to mention Aaron Dismuke would have undoubtedly given a better performance than Lindsay, as Lindsay consistently gives the worst performances of the show. However, I feel the best choice would have been to simply not have a letter, and instead let the song Home that started off the scene play out. We can see all the characters doing the same actions and infer what's going on for them without Ruby's ham-fisted monologue explaining it all to us. This whole letter situation is boring and feels like the writers looked at the script and said, well, they killed the Nuckelavee in the first 10 minutes, but this is the finale and it needs to be longer than that. Let's fill time by having Ruby spell everything out to the audience. So, first we'll focus on what RWBY actually says. It's cute to know that Ruby's been writing Yang. It would have been nice to see Yang reading one of her letters though, or even better to see her too depressed to want to open them. She then explains how scary it is for Weiss to run away, even though we could and already have deduced that. She then explains how starting with good intentions can still lead to shitty things like the White Fang, but that you shouldn't be scared to try anyway. Duh. She recounts a memory about an argument she had with Yang once, and that's actually new, if not entirely necessary information. But then she connects that to how Team Stark broke up and how her mom died, and we're back to shit we already knew. She then reminds the audience why she's a huntress, hints at Pyrrha's death and the loss of Ren's family, of course concluding that thought with a recap on how what's left of Juniper is doing. She then waxes poetics on how amazing the world is and how amazing all her friends are and how amazing it is to help people. She makes sure to bring up how Oscar's gonna train to fight against evil stuff. Then she talks about how Ilya is lost and totally gonna join the good guys, like, it's obvious. She's just confused right now, though. And you can't talk about Ilya without also mentioning how the Albane brothers are totally evil. She brings up how it's gonna be super tough to beat Cinder and Salem because they're also super evil. She misses her friends but made it to Mistral, and don't forget what Crow told the kids in episode 8, gotta see the headmaster next. She wishes Yang could join her so Crow could get her up to speed, and she likes her sister. You see how boring that was? It's literally just a recap on shit we already knew for 7 minutes, and all the while you have to listen to Ruby's fake-ass voice and Lindsay pretend to be able to act. What actually happens around Ruby's letter is far more interesting. I can't help but wonder where Weiss ran off to find this pilot, but despite that, it establishes that Weiss is on the move, and from the looks of it, is the closest to reconnecting with one of her friends. In contrast, Blake's just looking at flags gives us no information, and implies that Blake's not ready to leave yet. Blake's lack of progress would be a bigger problem if she actually had a goal to look toward, but as it is now, Blake is kinda just there taking up screen time. Okay. Yang's new outfit sucks. It's green. Ainli's concept art has her in brown. Why the fuck would you make the yellow character green? Not to mention how over-designed it looks, with the most colors on her out of the rest of the main cast, double cape thing, tit window, and a fucking belt on her scarf. I usually love Ainli's work, but Yang's new outfit feels like a step down from her old one. Also, I'm a little disappointed at how her hair looks. Never mind the fact that it's lost a lot of the vibrancy it used to have, where before it looked like fire, now it's just blonde. The problem is that it's just one big mass. It doesn't behave like hair, it just flows all together in one big clump. Hair physics may be the next thing they should work on, so Goldilocks can have a head of hair she can be proud of. So, the fact that the Team Stark photo looks like it was made with 3D models makes this picture of Team RWBY look like an in-universe drawing. There should be some consistency to this kind of thing. If Stark are gonna look like 3D models, then it'd be smartest to do the same for RWBY. Otherwise you run into this issue of RWBY's photo looking like fan art. Is this scene with Cinder blasting Emerald's image supposed to be scary? I think it's supposed to be a look how cold and ruthless she is, but I don't know, it just doesn't quite land. It doesn't help that it feels like it's trying too hard, with RWBY weakly reaching out and shit. It also doesn't help that I'm distracted with how Emerald seems to know exactly what RWBY's new outfit looks like. It's just like, we already knew how ruthless Cinder was before. Remember how excited she was to see Beacon falling apart? So this doesn't add anything to her character. Lindsay's quivery gonna cry voice is the most annoying. I get that I'm kind of ragging on her a lot, but she plays the title character. She needs to perform well, and I'm just not seeing it. Ignoring the fact that RWBY sounds like someone doing a voice, Lindsay should still offer a performance that sounds like an actual character, not someone reading their lines. I'd love to hear her after she goes to a couple acting classes, but until then, RWBY's the hardest one to sit through. Having RWBY cry over Penny and Pyrrha is nice, but it's still a far cry from getting to see just how these losses have affected her. More people can struggle with loss than just Jean, you know. So, this decision Yang makes seems to be go look for your sister or your mom. That's nice, but if you wanted it to be vague on which way she chose, it'd be smartest to have Yang drive directly into the camera, as having her cheat either way implies that that's the direction she chose. Because of this, I was certain she had picked go look for RWBY and Mistral, and felt as though there were no question about it. Whether or not I was right won't get discussed here, but the way it's shot meant I got left out on wondering over the mystery between volumes. What's your goal, Watts? No, but seriously, while RWBY's letter is a pretty disappointing way to end the volume, seeing Watts does a good job getting your brain going over what could possibly happen next volume. I was super excited to see Lionheart, because I assumed he'd be cute like Ironwood. There's no Volume 5 spoilers for this, but let's just say I was disappointed. This interaction between Crow and Oscar is super intriguing. I especially like not getting to hear Ozpin, as we got to get used to him being in Oscar's head along with him. This is a fun way to show just how silly it is for Oscar to talk with him to an outsider. This whole bit does a great job getting the viewer excited to see more of Oscar, and specifically to get to see him interact with other characters. And so, that was No Safe Haven. This episode was passable. Not bad, but also not really that good. A solid okay. It's a pretty slow final episode, and despite the fact that most of the kids waited around to conclude anything until now, not many of them really did anything. Weiss, Yang, and Oscar just traveled, and Blake looked at flags. For there being so many story arcs this volume, most of them either got a lackluster conclusion, or never really concluded at all. I'll go into it more at a later date, but more often than not, the characters seem to just be spinning their wheels when they didn't need to be. The strongest part of the episode is the first half, as the Nuckelavee fight starts off really intense, and the conclusion Ren goes through under the house is touching. However, the rest of the episode is a too easily won fight and recap. I can't help but feel like we deserved more, but the writers didn't want anything else important to happen until Volume 5. A major component to that is the fact that over half the episode is resolution. The climax happens in the first third of the episode, which means it doesn't get to leave a lasting impression on the audience. All in all, the episode does everything it needed to, but nothing else. The bad guy was beaten, but with a fight that suddenly shifted in difficulty for no reason. Everyone is ready to start the next step of their adventure, but no one's actually any closer to that goal. The characters are happy again, but the underwhelming letter feels blasé about the whole thing. It's nothing special, which is a disappointing way to finish off the volume. The final episode should stick with the viewer, but the only thing that stuck with me was how hurriedly it all felt wrapped up.